your marriage is your number one priority when your kids, like your kids are a beautiful product, however they came to be, adoption, birth, whatever, of that marriage, but they are secondary.
Hey everybody, I'm here today with my guest and wife, Emily Shoup, and we are here to talk about all things marriage, specifically being intentional in your marriage. Come check it out. Hey, thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Would you make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel here, and please share this episode with somebody whose life it will make better. Emily Shoup is in the house.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Really good. Excited to have you back for round 2. You were requested by popular demand by listeners. Awesome. That your episode had one of the most downloads. I think the most downloads and listens, and we got a lot of messages and questions. And it's just fun to hang out with you, right? This is our date time.
Yeah, you're my best friend, so it's fun.
Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me back. I'm excited.
So catch everybody up. Like when we first recorded, we were just launching the podcast. I think you were the 3rd episode that came out.
I think so. Yeah.
And we talked a lot about just leadership styles and personality styles and love languages, and kind of started unpacking our story and how those things layered into the story, and then our marriage, our journey together. We're coming up. This is our 20th year of marriage. So
had our 19th anniversary.
It was wild.
On year 20.
And I think what's been, at least at the top of my mind, or maybe front of our attention right now, is just the kids and their ages, the place in life that they're at. They're really busy. And it's it's created this transition space and time, which has been interesting to navigate through. So love to get your perspective.
No, it is. It's a weird time. They're 15 and 12, almost like right on the cusp of 16 and 13. And, Riley just interviewed for his first job outside of our company. It's an interesting time. They're growing up without being, they're very much into young adulthood / preteen angst and whatnot. So yeah, it's an interesting time. It's a heavy duty, hands-on in a different way than when they're little type of time. It's a lot more physical, like driving and, constantly, or I guess time management, driving, going to games, going to extracurricular activities, parties, whatnot. Yes. It's a busy time.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like with Riley, I mean, we don't see him much.
Yeah.
During the week. He's off to school, football, practice. We get back from the day. He's getting back a little bit later, bed, school, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. And it's, this time of life, he's also asserting his independence a little bit. So it's, it's one of those weird times where it's really good, because they need to do that, and they need to be able to go out on their own and get things done. And you can see the fruits of your labor from early childhood starting to pay off a little bit. But it's also, you miss your kiddo.
Miss the little guy.
You miss the little guy.
Girl, right? Yeah.
I think I had posted on my Instagram a picture of him when he was 5. And I just said, I just dropped this guy off for a job interview, and it's just this. It goes quick.
Yeah. And we keep having the conversation. So I'm currently struggling with relating to preteen and just about a darn near teenage girl, and all that entails, middle school and drama and emotions. I'm like, what's going on? Who are you today? How did this switch so quickly? And you're just like, it's girl stuff. Don't worry about it. Like, never mind. But just, I don't get that perspective. And then same thing with Riley, right? With our son. I'm like, that's just a boy thing. Don't worry about that. So how is that for you, being the mom of a son, just not having experienced these things? Because you're a female, right? You're a girl growing up. You can relate to Haley. I can relate to Riley. But what's been some of the challenge for you? Because I know for me, it's definitely difficult right now, and interesting more so. Yeah. With the daughter.
Yeah. No, I think the biggest surprise for me was when he started getting emotional, but it was toward the angry spectrum. You know, I didn't have brothers. You know, I never saw the preteen teen boy thing growing up, and I didn't realize that boys got just as emotional as girls do, just with tend toward the anger part of it, anger outbursts instead of crying for no reason like girls do.
Yeah.
And
Anger
we really do. We don't know why we're crying. You can ask.
Really?
We might not know. Yeah.
That's just so, like, I feel like I would know when I'm crying, but you just don't.
No, you just don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm taking note.
Yes. It's interesting though. It's definitely a big difference between the two. But at least, you know, you understand him, I understand her. We can give each other notes.
And I feel like we've done a good job at that you recognized my frustration just the other day, right? I was like, babe, I'm like, I need to step away. I don't know what's going on. This seems like a simple, if A, then B, let's fix this. You're like, Matt, it's not that. Well, what is it? We don't know, but it's not what you think. So I think we've done a good job communicating those frustrations and then giving perspective.
Yeah.
Because I posted, actually went out to social media and I posted, hey, Emily's coming back on the podcast. What do you want us to talk about? And I had one friend, Brandon, if you're watching, I saw your post about the matching cheesy t-shirts. I thought they were cool, Brandon.
They are awesome
shout
shirts.
out to Brandon McNeil.
They are awesome shirts.
But we've got different outfits on. So that was one question. But somebody had posted just managing teenage conflict and discipline. So love to talk about that, right? The kids are going through changes, right? And they're maturing. They're becoming young adults. They're not little kids anymore. They need us in different ways. I would say our kids, I think personally, overall, they're pretty well behaved.
Yeah.
Haven't had big issues
Yeah.
or anything like that. But there's just the daily, just a pain in the ass sometimes. Can we say that?
Yeah.
So like,
I think so. That's fair.
What have we done? What would we share? I mean, where do you think we've done it right? Where do you think maybe we haven't, or we could do better with just the discipline of these little creations we've made?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's really a trial and error, it seems like. You know, even when they're little and you're trying to figure out creative consequences, we'll put it that way, to behaviors. Yeah. Sometimes you got to switch it up. You know, what works for one kid does not work for the other kid based on personalities and everything. With Riley, when he was little, timeouts were, okay, I'll go to timeouts. He's a little less social. He didn't enjoy them, but they didn't really bother him either. With Haley, timeouts were, oh my gosh, you want me away from people? And, so I think just same thing with teenagehood. You just gotta figure out what works and what doesn't. And thankfully, with phones and stuff now, that's a easy punishment right there.
They both don't like that.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't like if somebody took away your phone either. So,
not at all.
That's a good one. That works. But I think it's just trial and error. And I'm sure, made many, many mistakes with it and, done some things right, haven't done other things right. And I think the important part of all of that is when you don't do it right and you end up like hurting feelings or stuff like that, more than a consequence to an action. Nobody likes being in trouble. It's okay to not like being in trouble. But when there are feelings and emotions that get hurt on a different level than just a consequence, then I think what we've done that's been helpful is to go and apologize for that and maybe change or alter that course of corrective behavior and consequence. Yeah. And I think apology is huge. I think people need to apologize more to their kids when they do it wrong, because we're never going to do it all right. And just owning that, and, we're all just doing our best. So explaining that to kids and, apologizing when you're wrong is huge. It's huge. Yeah.
And another thing that you mentioned, and I know I will get this wrong a lot sometimes, because you told me the other day, you're like, hey, Matt, like pay attention to this. And I think it's important is separating the behavior that you're correcting from them as a person.
Yeah.
And not tying that together. It's like, hey, and again, because I don't do this perfect, is, hey, son, daughter, I love you. You're amazing. You're wonderful. I asked you not to do this and you did this, or you know that this is a boundary you're not supposed to cross and you crossed it and now you're punished. And I love you. Right.
Yeah.
And doing that. And I know sometimes I'm just like, I can't believe you did that. How many times have we told you? And then they feel bad. But yeah, I've apologized many, many times to the kids. What would you say to people? I've heard some people, professional sense, maybe yes, maybe no, but no, you should never do that. You should always exercise your authority. You lose power, you lose authority as a parent by being vulnerable and apologizing to a kid. I think that's total BS. I don't believe in that.
I agree. I agree.
At all. Yeah.
That's ridiculous, because you wouldn't say that. Well, I guess a lot of people do in the business space, right? I'm the boss. I don't need to apologize for my actions. But, all the healthy work environments as well as the healthy home environment, if you're doing that in your marriage or your work or with your kids, you're going to have much less of a healthy relationship with those people than if you can go in there and admit when you got it wrong, apologize for it, really change, because that's the true, measure of an apology. Are they really sorry? Do they change it next time? Are they working at being better at it?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just empty words. But I think, you said you've apologized a lot to the kids. So have I. It's just got to do it. Got to own up to it. And, we're all thrust into this. Life is just weird. Sorry, I'm backtracking a little. But, you're a kid. You can't wait till you're grown up. Then you hit 18 and you most likely, right, head out on a path, whether that's trade school or college or whatever, just on your own. And you're expected to adult at that point. And you don't know how to do that. Nobody's ever taught you how to do that. You might know how to balance a checkbook maybe from your parents or something like that. But really, you're going from being a kid, having a lot of stuff done for you, to being an adult, expected to do all this stuff. And then you get married and you're expected to do marriage and you have no idea how. And then you have kids and you're expected to parent and you have no idea how, and you just got to figure it out. And so you're going to make mistakes.
Hey, just want to give a big shout out to one of our sponsors, Imprint Digital. If you're a small business owner, one of the things that you need to navigate to be successful is all things online and digital in terms of marketing and your messaging. Imprint Digital, they're the real deal. They are the professionals and they know this world inside and out. Make sure to visit their website at imprint-digital.com. If your life or business are cluttered up with junk right now, then you've got to reach out to one of our sponsors, Hulk Addicts Hauling. Hulk Addicts can come out to your home or business to do anything from removing junk to appliances. Maybe you're demoing or doing construction on a property and you need it cleared out. Maybe you need a big dumpster dropped off that they can roll off later. Make sure to check them out at hulkaddictsjunk.com. They are serving all of northern Colorado as well as up and down the Front Range.
The best parent is not the perfect parent. There's just no such thing. So own it.
Yeah.
Own it.
So many things, as you were talking, I was thinking of that. Yeah, that transition from childhood, right? Like they're totally like protected, cared for, fed, and now it's like, hey, Riley, you have a job interview. Yeah. You need to make sure you have your dress clothes and they look good, and that you filled this out and you have this prepared. And he's like, oh, you didn't do that for me? No, like that's your responsibility. It's been really interesting to see with even both of them at the ages they're at. Like this is your responsibility now, and making that clear. Like it's the first time you're doing this. You've got a job interview. This is what that entails for you, Mom, Dad. We're not going to do that for you anymore. We'll take you there. You can't drive, but you have to own this. You have to get into this. Like the little thing for me, it's frustrating. I drive him to school every morning, and literally over the past 2 weeks, every other day, I miss 13 calls from you. Like I'm chasing down the car. Haley forgot her sandwich, or Riley forgot the notebook, or whatever it is. It's like that's your responsibility. And how do we balance that? Hey, if you forget this or you don't do this correctly, you're gonna fail this test. You're maybe not gonna get past the first job interview. You're not gonna even be able to apply for the job. Like these are conversations we're having. So like how are we structuring that? Or are we?
I don't even know how to answer that.
It's top of mind.
It's kind of a, situation by situation basis, I think. Yeah, you forget your lunch. well, hot lunch for you today, I guess. And don't forget your lunch. I don't know. It's situation by situation. But I will tell you, yesterday when I drove him to his job interview, the mom part of me wanted to go in so bad, Obviously, I didn't. That's his thing to do, and I know that.
Yeah.
I'm not a helicopter parent, but just that part of you where they're little wants to I'll help you,
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting life change. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like letting go of that, not that control, but that desire to help and love your kid and see them succeed. I think letting them fail has been interesting, and that's super hard to see, right? But such a critical
It
part
is.
of
I'm tearing
growth.
up about it.
I know. Yeah.
But
We said
going.
we're going. I didn't even try.
There.
I didn't even try to make you cry. I had 3 things I was going to bring.
It's just a big life change, and it's great.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
Yeah. No, I think the part of me that sees, I'm doing the countdown a little bit. I don't know about you, but it's man, we've got, 3 more summers with Riley, and then he could be out. He could be doing his thing. He's got a pretty decent direction of where he wants to go with things.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like that countdown is on. A lot of reflection for me, just of the past, we're on 20 years of marriage, two awesome kids. We got a lot going on. We'll dive into a lot of that. But one thing that got me thinking is when you told me, hey, Matt, something you need to know as a dad about daughters that you're not going to understand. You didn't go through it. It's this. What would that advice be from you for fathers about daughters? Where I just scratched my head and you're like, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah. I think when those hormones start changing for girls, it just everything gets very deeply emotional. And, different personality types will show it different ways. But you kind of go through this time, you take everything to heart. So even a raised voice sounds like somebody's yelling at you. Everything is just so highly emotional. And that's why middle school, you talk to people and nobody I've ever talked to said, I would love to go back and do middle school all over again. Everybody says that is the worst time period. And you're just going through so much physically and emotionally and mentally and hormonally. But yeah, with girls, everything gets highly emotional. You will cry and get emotional for zero reason. You can't explain it. Sometimes you do get mad, like boys do, for no reason. There's no reason, really. But it's just, know that this is a thing. You got to watch your words a little more carefully, watch your tone a little more carefully, because it will be taken as a personal attack. And thankfully, most women, as we grow up, learn to regulate that, learn to do that. But as a teen, as a 12-year-old, preteen girl going into the teens with the beginning of those hormones, that is rough.
Yeah.
That is rough.
And she seems like she got a jump start on some of the other girls, and it's progressing pretty quickly too. She gets mistaken for a high schooler all the time.
Yep.
Which I think would that have you? I'm assuming, right? There's just not confusion there, but just where's my place? You don't know your place in middle school anyway. I'm not a kid. I'm not an adult.
Yeah.
But I'm further along than some of the other kids, and getting asked if I'm a high schooler and what? It's a new school. What do I do? And then everything is level 10 emotional intensity.
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah. I think what did you tell me the other day? You're like, dude, you just need to just relax.
Yeah.
So I step out of the room now.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, because there really is no answer. You'll always ask her, why do you feel like this? Why are you crying? What is, behind this? And she's like, I don't know. And you're like, yes, you do know, and I'm like, no, she really doesn't know.
I said, you don't know?
I'm like,
and then it was
nope.
even more. Yeah, it was more emotions.
More emotions.
Yes. Okay.
Because you don't
Taking
know.
Note.
You don't know. It's a strange time.
Yeah. What are some other things that you wish just fathers would know about daughters that would help them be better fathers?
I just talked to a friend about this the other day. So as girls' bodies are changing so much, it gets a little awkward. I think it can tend to between dads and daughters because you've been holding this little girl on your lap. You've been doing lots of snuggles. You've been whatever. And now this young woman body is starting to happen. And there obviously needs to be a shift in how things are done. But I think the problem can be sometimes dads, and you don't do this, by the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes dads take away all physical affection from their daughters when their bodies start to change. And since that girl is young, she doesn't know why. She doesn't know why dad's all of a sudden pulling back. And really, he's trying to be respectful, I think, of her changing body, since it's much more physically obvious for girls than guys at that point in time. But, just don't take away that affection. It can change.
Yes.
It needs to change, but don't take it away.
Yeah, and especially because our daughter, I mean, she loves physical affection.
Yes.
Like snuggles and cuddles. Like she's physical
Yes.
touch. Riley could do without it forever.
Yep.
You gotta like force a hug out of that. I'm like, can I have a hug, son?
Yep.
Please. Like after the football game,
Yep.
That's enough.
Yeah.
No, I love that. That's been a good thing to know. What else would you add about the daughter? Or anything else?
I don't know. I think
those are great.
Those are just a lot of the big ones. Just know the emotions don't have a back to them necessarily. And you just got to roll with it and still love on her physically. If she likes, if she's a physical touch person, like our daughter is.
And she's already talking about dating.
Oh, yes. She has been boy crazy since, she could talk. So
She asked when she can kiss a boy.
yes.
And I'm just like, I hit my goal. The goal was to have the black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
You did.
Before she was
made
dating.
it.
Now she's talking about it.
Yep.
And Chris Holcomb, they live right down the street. We're going to Bad Boys 2, whoever comes to the door.
I love it.
Right?
You should.
And you're cool with it.
Yep. And for his daughters too. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, yeah, that's crazy. She's ready to date.
She thinks she is. Yeah.
I'm not
think
ready.
you always
I'm not
think
ready
you
for
are.
that. No.
Yeah. I'm not either. I hope she's very picky.
Yes.
I really hope she is.
Gosh, now what about sons? Where's the confusion for you?
Just, how boys tend to go towards anger, like I already said. And just, you talked with Scott Ramage about.
Yeah, I want to share about that because that was awesome, but also really, really hard.
Do you want to share that first and then I'll talk about that?
Yeah.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I remember going through that and I matured later. So I remember when I was Riley's age, I mean, I think he's hit that testosterone surge and that growth and that maturity earlier than I did. But yeah, I just remember that it's like all of a sudden it's just this like surge of emotion. Yeah. And then with that testosterone just comes like the muscle growth, and then you start noticing, right? You start noticing that. Other people start noticing that. He's playing football, so he's encouraged to go smash people. And then just one day I think he came to hug you. I don't know if you remember this in the kitchen. He came to hug you and he did the whole O-line and like picked you up and slid you across the kitchen. Like, what's going on? But no, that's definitely a big thing. It's just it's a total hormone thing, just that physical aggression, the anger. And then I'd also say that this is what Scott talked about, is pulling back and really figuring out like, okay, mom, dad, they've always been there. But you start to peel off this layer of independence of like, I can do this. Like how many times does he's like, I got it.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yep.
Like leave me alone. And Scott said sometimes just immediate. And he said a lot of times when boys start to exercise that independence, they totally peel off and split away from mom completely. Now, I don't think I've seen that or we've seen that yet with Riley, but he had mentioned, he said that was really hard for his wife. And he goes, if you haven't seen it yet, it's going to come and it can be a total curveball for mom. Yeah.
I think I've seen it a little bit here and there. I think actually more when he was maybe a little bit younger, maybe around Haley's age, actually with that preteen, beginning teens, when they just all of a sudden go from, mama's boy to, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to listen to what you say. I remember one time he came home from school, elementary school, and he said, my friend said you were wrong about this subject. And I'm like, I don't care what your, fifth grade friends say. But no, I think he's done that a little bit, but I think his comes out a little bit differently because of his personality as well.
Yes.
So the other day, for example, I was trying to get him to make a choice about something. I don't even remember what it was. And he told me what his answer was. And I said one more time, are you sure? Because he said, I made my choice. And then I tried one more time. Oh, it was about ice cream in Estes Park, something so stupid because he had said he wanted ice cream. Then we got to the ice cream store and he didn't want ice cream. Mm-hmm. And I said, are you sure you don't want ice cream? Yes, I'm sure. Oh, well, you just said you wanted it. Are you sure? I'm sure. And then I asked him one more time when we were in line, are you sure you don't want ice cream? And he looked at me and he said, Mom, I made my choice and I told you my answer. And I was like, okay, I need to respect that.
Why do you think that that repeated check-in was for you?
Well, I think for me as a mom, like he said, he wanted it. So I wanted to make sure he got it if he really wanted it. But by then he had changed his mind. But so he'll do that every once in a while with me. I'll try to talk to him in his mind too many times about something. And he will look at me and, Mom, stop. I'm like, okay.
He does. He gives you
I got to respect that
glare.
Yeah. So I think that's been
face.
Interesting for me as the mom. But I think he has done some things to pull away. But that's okay. I mean, it's not easy. I was talking to a friend the other day and her son is going through that right now too.
Yeah.
He's preteen and he's given her a really rough time and it's mom over dad. And I think it's that she and I talked about that. It's that break off point, trying to, be independent from mom, who's been the main, usually in most families, right? Has been the main caregiver the whole time.
The caregiver, the nurturer.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he'll still call me every once in a while and just be like, hey, Mom, can you help me with something? And I'm like, okay, there it is.
Yeah.
It's back a little bit.
And that's like something you need as a mom, right? That's part of the identity, like part of the identity. I know, like for me as a dad, like that whole protective piece for both of them, right? And they're like, no, I got this. I don't need you here. I got this, right? I think we talk a lot about wherever we're out in public. Hey, I want to go do this and walk over here and go over here alone. We live in a crazy world, right? So we're like, well, is that okay that we let her pop out real quick by herself downtown Loveland with all of the riffraff going on down there? And she's like, I'll kick him in the nuts if I need to. Like she's good. But so like, where's that balance, right? Of letting that go, creating more space for them, like not helicoptering, but also not being irresponsible. Of like, hey, like we still need to have you covered here.
Right. And I think that's something that, as unfortunate as it is different for boys and girls. Because predatory people are most likely going to go after girls and women rather than boys and men. Not that it can't happen, but the majority is women and girls.
Yeah.
So it just has to be different. And that's an unfortunate reality.
Yeah. I mean, we grew up in a time, we're growing up in different times than we did 30, 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many good things, like thinking back to our first episode. So we talked about in terms of just the parent-child dynamic, right? They have their personality styles. They've got their love language. And anybody that didn't watch the first episode, go check it out. But we really dove deep in that. We talked about ours, but also touched on the kids. So when it comes to just like relating to kids, being intentional with kids, knowing their personality style, their love language, the whole male-female dynamic. Like, Dad, you need to go to your wife. Dad, you need to go to Mom, to your spouse, and have her explain this woman stuff that you just haven't gone through. You don't have the experience with, and vice versa, right? For mom and son. Hey, if you're a Christian business owner, you have to check out one of our sponsors, the Foundry Advisory. The Foundry is a Christian peer advisory group where we get together on a monthly basis to discuss everything that's important in our life, our business, our families, and our faith. I'm a member and I love being a part of this group. You've got to check them out at thefoundryadvisory.com. When you go to their website, make sure you check out their Refresh event, which is happening January 11th through the 13th, 2024, up in Estes Park. That can be found at thefoundryadvisory.com/refresh. Hey, if you're a business owner and you need to do some renovation in your space or possibly build a building from the ground up, you have to connect with one of our sponsors, Mendel Construction. Mendel Construction is a commercial construction company that's been around since 1997, serving all of Colorado. They can do a small tenant finish all the way up to ground up construction of a new building for your business. Check them out at mendelandcompany.com. That's MENDEL and company.com. A big shout out and thank you to one of our sponsors, M&D Painting and Roofing. M&D was actually founded by my wife Emily and I back in 2005, and for the last 2 decades we've been here in northern Colorado of one of the leaders in residential and commercial repainting, as well as most recently installing residential roofs. So if you need to paint, re-roof, you got hit by a hailstorm, we can take care of whatever your home needs from top to bottom. You can find us on the web at mandepainting.com. And then giving them space to fail is a big thing. And that's been hard to see.
Yeah.
But it's a great lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I think, one of the big things is you got to be able to let your kids go. A lot of parents have a really hard time with that. And I get that because that's like your baby. And I get it. But, you have the parents that you see that, yes, on one hand, your child is always your baby, even when you're, 90 and they're 70 or whatever.
Yes.
But there are those parents who want to be that mom or that dad when their kid is trying to adult and be on their own, when they're in their 20s, 30s.
And they're making it way too comfortable to leave. Like they're intentionally creating an environment, right? Where why would you leave?
Yeah.
You've got food. I'll do your laundry. I'll do everything.
Exactly.
Right?
Just
like,
come
why
get
would you
food
want to
here.
leave? Yeah.
Exactly. And you wouldn't want to. They make that too easy. And I was just talking to somebody the other day about, your marriage is your number one priority when your kids, your kids are a beautiful product, however they came to be, adoption, birth, whatever, of that marriage, but they are secondary. And it's intense with them throughout the entire time they're home. That is for sure. Yeah. But that marriage is the relationship that all of that is based on. So it's so important to keep that healthy and going, because otherwise when the kids are gone, what do you have left? If you don't have your, marriage worked out with your spouse, you got a lot of stuff to figure out. And I've heard parents say, no, my kids are what's most important. And no, they aren't. Like, your spouse is the most important. Your kids are a quick secondary under there. It's not like they're 10 down the list, but that spouse is what it's all based on. You gotta keep that going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what have we done? Because we were just talking about this the other day. We're in a very chaotic, it's been a chaotic year.
Yes.
Just with everything going on. But, what are we doing, even in the chaos, to make sure that we're being super intentional with our time, our relationship as a couple? Because it seems like at this point of kids' ages and where they're at, like it's easy to put ourselves last because we got all these other things to do. Like, we've got all these other responsibilities. So what would we say? Because people specifically asked about this. Somebody said, how do you manage, businesses and marriage and all of this under one household, right?
Yeah.
One building.
I don't think we get it right all the time. I definitely think we've dropped the ball there at some times. But even when the kids were little, we started having intentional date nights. And that's so important. And if you can get out every week, awesome. If you can't, can you do every 2 weeks? Can you do once a month? Just so it's there. And we started when the kids were little. I can't remember how old they were, but we started taking one trip a year alone.
Yeah, we've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah. And, you know, my parents take the kids for a week. Thank you very much, guys.
Yes. Thank you.
And just let us be a couple. Let us take off mom and dad hat for a week. Not that you ignore them. We still call them. But, you know, you get to be just Matt and Emily for a week, just a married couple for a week. And it's nice. It helps. Like I am protective of that time. I think that's one thing that people don't maybe do enough sometimes is like, you got to be almost jealous and protective of your time as a couple. You know, even if you can catch a quick couple hour date watching a movie while your kids are doing homework or something. Like, guys, this is our time. You got to, you know, leave us alone. We'll be upstairs in an hour or whatever after the movie's over. Like, just so you can be together, have those little connection moments. It adds up over the years.
And what about the people that just don't have the capacity to do that? So it's parents, they've got, you know, young children, no family close by, nobody they trust close by. You know, we luckily didn't have all those boxes checked, so we're able to do that. But what would you say to them? Well,
I think there are seasons too. You can't feel bad or guilty about it when you can't do it, because there might not be anything you can do at that point in time. So I would just say, try to find your moments, even if it's 10 minutes together in the morning when you both wake up before the kids wake up, that you can talk about your day, how you're feeling, where your heart is, where your head is, just that little connection time. If it's intentional and regular as you can fit it in, I think that's huge. You know, you got kids with adults with special needs kids that take up a lot more time. And, you know, for anybody, but especially when life is handing you rough seasons, just grab those quick moments. You or your spouse might be sick, you know, grab those quick moments and invest in each other.
I found one thing too. It's the other night, I'm thinking back to this, is it was like end of the day. I'm more of a morning person than a night person. So I'm pretty well worthless after 7:30.
8:30, yeah.
I'd say 8. Yeah, 8. Like, don't ask me anything, like any big burning questions or to like reflect on, what was it the other day? I'm like getting ready to go to bed. You're like, tell me about how did the men's morning mastermind go? Or what did you think about couples night? Let's debrief on that. Leave me alone. Let me go to sleep. Yes. But I want to connect and I want to know, and I could tell like you really wanted to know. Like, I don't want to talk about it right now. So I think, and then what do?
You wake me up at like 4:30 in the morning.
4:30. Hey babe.
I want to tell you something.
So I think just finding that time. I think for us, what we found, go drop the kids at school, come back 30 minutes or an hour, whatever we've got with that day is like protecting that 8 to 9 a.m. time. Where we just hang out, catch up, whatever that is.
And that's been good.
Mm-hmm. It is. Now we also have the layer right now of we're in a season where you're working in the business. You're helping out up front with jiu-jitsu and the memberships, and then you're helping with a lot of the mattshoup.com and everything we're doing. You just back end for anybody that heard about Hike of a Lifetime. This is her right here.
That's me.
All of the details and coordination and a lot of that stuff that went in, that was all you. So how do we separate that?
That's a good question.
Or do we? Or are we just like, are we even doing that?
I mean, certain things you can't, obviously, just because there's that relationship there. It's nice to see you more during the day, but it's a different kind of seeing you. You know, we're in a different headspace. It's a different environment. It's work. Yeah. So it's different, even though we get to spend more time, like actual time together. But
it's fun. It's fun work with fun people that we enjoy. But then it's just business. It's a business question.
And it's hard to leave work at work when you go home. Mm-hmm. There's always that, I talked to so-and-so today and I have a question for you about this or whatever. But I think that's pretty normal with anybody that works together. And it's not a bad thing as long as that's not the only topic of conversation, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I think for us, we've been good, can always be better, but I think we've done a better job more times than not of being really intentional with the calendar.
Yeah.
We've got our Tuesday, Thursday check-in time when it's like, this is for us for work right before the craziness of jujitsu gets started. And then, dinners. Like I'm not a great, I cook fried eggs and Spanish and like Spanish cuisine, which I need help with, right? I never do that alone. So I'm not great at just like knocking out these awesome dinners, but just shifting that schedule with everything we have going on.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I really enjoyed putting that together with Haley. We bounced out a little bit early the other night. Yeah, it was okay.
No, it was wonderful. It was delicious.
But just finding those times to be really intentional with what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And sticking to it. And I think just setting boundaries. I think like the other night you asked me something about something work. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Right? I just looked. I don't want to talk about this right now.
Yeah.
We'll do this later.
Yep.
Okay. Oh yeah, we're standing talking about work in the kitchen.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know that we have that perfect, but
Yeah.
I think that also changes on the daily too. You know, if you have something crazy coming up, you obviously have to talk about it more. And so going home with your spouse gives you more time to talk about it and hash it out and figure it out. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But like I said, if that is the only topic of conversation, then there's a massive unbalance there.
Yeah. What do you see? So as we're talking through all this, really trying to I want to close out and bring some really awesome value for couples that are listening. But what would you say that you see in your observations with everybody that you spend time with, the things that spouses don't address with each other that can really stop progress, stifle progress in their marriage getting better?
That they don't address.
Or just some of the big topics. Like I meet with a lot of men, you meet with a lot of women, we meet with a lot of couples, and we just hear a lot of a lot of things coming up. And I mean, I would open with just communication, like how often and clear and intentional are you having communication? And how does that communication happen? Are you speaking each other's language, and are you understanding it and doing it consistently?
Yeah.
I think is one big thing.
Yeah. I think, well, and even within our marriage, we haven't always done a good job of this, and it still happens, I think, where, feelings get hurt about something, but instead of talking about it, because you don't want to rock the boat when things are fine, you just let it go. But then it comes up again, and then it becomes a bigger issue. Those feelings get hurt a little bit more, but you apologize for whatever. And again, you don't mention it because you don't want to rock the boat when things are good. And it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's like a growing pile of trash on the boat. Yes,
exactly.
There's no way to move around it anymore.
So, and I'm preaching to myself here too, is that just because my personality is more of a, okay, let's let it go, let's be calm, is like talking about those things before they become, the volcano that's about to explode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that a lot.
That's good. I see that a lot too. And
so what would you tell somebody doing that?
Maybe I need somebody to tell me.
Well, but so it's in that situation, because there's been like specific points in our marriage where we're like, hey, we need to address this. This is a thing. Yeah. This is a topic. And I mean, is it up to somebody somebody has to go first. I think if you're looking like practically, somebody's got to do it, and it's not comfortable, and it can blow up.
It
right?
can, yeah.
And there's a lot of emotion, but what happens if you don't? Like,
it's
what happens
way
if
worse.
it keeps
Always. Yeah.
becoming an issue? And I always think of, what are the kids observing?
Yes.
The kids seeing that there's like this big elephant in the room, and it's not been addressed. Like let's address it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think timing is really good, and just knowing that, hey, you might have to rock the boat here. Like it might be a very peaceful time where you guys aren't arguing about anything, or nothing major is going on, but certain topics have to be discussed, and they're not fun topics. So it might cause the water to ripple and a little friction to happen. Yes. But timing, wording, are you coming at them like, you always do whatever to me,
Oh yeah.
Or like, hey, everybody dreads the whole, like, can we talk? But I think everybody does. But there's a time to do that, you know? I know I don't talk to you at night about serious things, whether it's an us thing or anything else.
Yes.
And
yes. I'm just laughing because didn't this just happen? Like this is the last 2 nights. I think this just happened.
And then you woke me up in the morning to talk. So, which you shouldn't do with me. So
correct.
Timing is everything.
What are the big topics? So you mentioned the big topics that can be easily avoided.
I think it's different for everybody. Like, for somebody, it might be something major that they just always brush under the carpet. For other people, it might be something that's more minor, like you hurt my feelings when you do whatever, but it's a constant, or not constant, but like a repeated thing that their spouse does, and they don't want to mention it. I think it depends on the person in that situation, but it can be anything from tiny to massive. So, yeah, you're quiet. What are you thinking?
No, I just love it. I was just thinking of it can be those. It doesn't have to be this big, big crazy elephant in the room. It can just be the little like, hey, I got the laundry. This is how we like to put it away. Like, I'm just trying to help, and I'm putting it everywhere.
Or me with the kitchen sponge the other day.
Oh yeah, the kitchen sponge. Yeah. We're gonna bring everybody into our house right now. So no, but like playing that out, right. I'm a doer. I'm an acts of service guy. We just got done cooking. We had couples night. So when we do couples connection night, we now cook a big Spanish dinner.
Yes,
and that pretty well takes us from 2 p.m. We start getting rolling.
Yep.
The whole kitchen's upside down. Turns out beautiful, but then it's like we got a big pile of dishes.
Yep.
So I just start cleaning everything, just getting it clean, getting it done. And what did I do? Maybe I still don't understand this magical sponge.
No, I have a certain sponge that I only use with like dish soap on it too. You're laughing. You're making me laugh. To wash the dishes that I'm going to put in the drying rack, not the ones that I wash in the dishwasher. This is like the final clean sponge.
It's the final finish sponge.
Yes. No, but that had just been something I mentioned a couple of times, and you're like, yeah, okay. And then I'd walk in and see you like wiping wet eggs off plates with that sponge. And I'm like, just a reminder, that's just the final clean sponge. And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was cleaning.
That's funny.
Just getting it done.
And that was just one of those things that's so dumb and small. And does it really matter? No. Not in the long scheme of things, but it's one of those little things.
It's a little thing
that, for whatever reason, get to you because it's outside of your normal way of doing things by yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Would be a good way of putting it. Drive you crazy, right? Like those little things are okay to talk about and decide if it's worth hanging on to or not, too.
Yeah, is it worth the fight?
Is it worth it?
What did I just say? Go buy another sponge.
I said, I will change the sponge today, but next time, please.
So there's the little things, right? Just the fun little things. But like, what about the big stuff?
I mean, that's like just harder.
So for me, right? Like one of the big things that I've been growing in a lot lately is my faith, right? And being like that spiritual leader in the marriage. And I wasn't for a long time. Like that's just. There's no excuse for it. I wasn't. I'm improving in it now. But like I remember those little attempts to call that out because that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Right? That is a huge thing. Hey, man, you're not being the spiritual leader in the marriage, and we need to talk about that. Like, when is a good time for that? Is there ever a good time for that?
Yeah.
How's that going to be received? But like that was a big thing, and I don't think there was one conversation about it. It was just this combination of these different interactions and conversations. And I feel like some of it was like a little nudge. Then some of it you're like, hey, Matt,
yeah,
we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool. I think looking back on it, difficult to hear that. So what if there is that big thing that spouse needs to hear? Like, how do you do that call out?
I don't think that's ever easy, but that's again, when it goes to timing and tone and wording, how are you going to do it? Are you doing it with love, or are you doing it when you're super pissed off? because then you
Yes.
probably shouldn't be having that conversation. And that's when you want to have that conversation, you know? That's when you're riled up and you're ready to go
Yeah.
take them out at the knees. But you got to remind yourself, and I've had to remind myself, like, this is my spouse. This is my best friend. I truly do not want to take this person out for whatever reason. Like, they are my partner.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm sure you've had the same thing, right? Like, this is not my enemy. This is my partner.
Yes.
This is something we have to address. And now is not the time to do it when I'm in like battle mode.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And we have not been perfect at that. And I doubt anybody has, but
Oh no. Yeah. We've totally done stuff
yeah.
the wrong
And
way.
again, then you come back, like we were talking about at the beginning, you have to come back and take ownership for that and apologize for that. Otherwise that will eat your spouse up, eat your partner up, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I don't. Yeah. I think timing, tone, all of that. And it's hard and it's not fun. And there have been times I know I should have spoken up about just whatever, but I haven't. And I'm sure you're the same way.
Same thing. Absolutely.
And then you regret it later because you go, that would have been the perfect time for us to have that conversation. And we didn't do it. So, and now is not the time. So I need to wait again.
However, getting to the other side of that has been really cool.
Yes.
I mean, I think this has been a big growth year for us too.
Yeah.
I think just in general, spiritually, as a couple, we've got chaos. Kids are growing up. Like, what the heck's going on? And it's been an amazing year. But I think some of the like, say, highest of highs and lowest of lows, and we're just in it.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty all the time.
Yep.
But I think you made a great point. The intention behind it, like, this is your best friend, and we want to continue our marriage and love each other and build each other up and show this example for the kids. And by not doing this or addressing this, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not keeping our marriage as healthy as it can be.
Yeah. Whether it's sponges or
All right.
spiritual. Right?
And I'm very proud
that
of
is.
you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Enjoyed watching you this year come into more of who you are made to be. And I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
It's been a joy to watch that. And it hasn't been an easy road,
Yeah.
but it's been wonderful. And I think you were talking about how this year has been kind of heavy duty. We've had a lot of conversations
Yeah.
that we have said, wow, we haven't told each other this.
Like
in
big stuff.
Big
Like
stuff.
big stuff.
Big stuff.
Like, we're not even going to share that here.
No.
It's nobody's business. Like, is
No,
that
it's personal marriage stuff.
the big stuff?
Like big
Yeah.
stuff that we haven't shared with each other. And we've been best friends and have known each other for over 20 years at this point and married for 19. And we're like, wow, we're just telling each other this now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's another takeaway, right? Is that just because you've been married for however many years, you could be married for 50 years. There still might be something you're holding on to. Tell your spouse. That's huge.
Yeah.
And, you know, that is your best friend. That is your partner. And I think the more you hold back and the more you don't tell, you feel lonely when you're with someone. And that's not a fun place to be.
Yeah.
When you feel alone when you're with your partner, that's not good. You got to so what is that? Talk about it. It's important.
And that was crazy because I remember what they were. We were driving home and you're like, hey, I'm just going to share this.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, and I've never shared that. Okay. Well, I guess since we're at it, like, here's this.
Yeah.
But then I remember that morning. I mean, we spent hours together just unpacking a lot of that. And it's painted baby, right? Like this, it was I think some things that were like pains in our past and things we're not proud of. And we just, I think one of mine, I didn't even consciously have it in my memory.
Right.
So super, super important to do. And I would say too, thank you. One of the biggest things for a man in a family that I'm finding, right, after not being great at it, is spiritual leadership, is going up and like being the shield and the front person for the family in your faith, like firm, for being planted in God, and having a wife that's going to stand there. Sometimes it's in front of you, beside you, behind you. Because when you do that, like men, when you do that, you're going to get severely attacked.
Yeah.
And stuff's going to get real,
Yep.
you know? And, and I think it's easy for a guy to just, I'm going to just pull back out of that. That's okay. And I think I've done that a lot. So thank you for being that. You're right there in the fight with me.
I got your back.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
What else do we want to share with everybody before we go?
I don't know.
And you read your card that I
My surprise
threw that
card.
on you. I super surprised you this morning.
So I'm a thinker and planner. And I said, I won't have to do another card when I come on the podcast. But I did. You surprised me.
Now you know.
But I chose something that I have always enjoyed and as a challenge for me.
I know. So, I'm excited to hear it. So we've talked about so much, just intentional parenting of children, meeting them where they're at, understanding just the gender dynamic of who they are and what they're going through and personalities and apologizing, right? Just asking for forgiveness with your kids, calling each other out, right? As spouses on things we can do better as parents.
In love.
Yeah. Because you have each other's backs and you want the best. We're not attacking each other.
Yes.
But yeah, just like what else would you close with?
I don't know. I think we hit a lot of really good stuff. Just you're never going to get it perfect. Mm-hmm. Nobody is. Don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. Don't expect your spouse to be better and it's all them. You got to work on yourself too. Yeah. Because in reality, it's not all them. No matter the situation, right? Even if it is more one person than the other and you are in that type of situation, there's no 100% guilty party, No. So work on yourself, work on that marriage. It's so important. Yeah.
And your kids will notice the little things that you don't realize they notice.
Absolutely.
Until you see them mention it or doing it or like whatever that is. We joke around, right? Is like we're physically affectionate, you and I, and we'll like go kiss in front of the kids, just like to gross them out sometimes, But like they're learning from that example. They're seeing how we do or don't manage conflict or finances or like whatever the thing is. So just keep that in mind. They're watching.
Yep.
And I mean, at this point, like they're 15, 16 and 13 effectively.
Yeah.
They've got it figured out. Like they've seen what that example is. And I think in the moments where we haven't set a great example and we've told them like, hey, we're working on this. We're doing better with this. Like we haven't gotten this right. This is not the way that we think this is supposed to be, or God says this is how it's supposed to be. And we're working on it. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And then they keep watching.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it. Well, let's love it. What's on your card? I want to hear. You came to the color wall. You got another one of your favorite colors. Last episode, it was Proverbs 3, 5, and 6.
I think so.
Right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. What is it this time?
That's always good. I just did a quote this time. It's by John Shedd, who is an author. He says, "A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for." And me, with my personality that likes safety and how would you put that, sameness and schedule and whatever. That's a great quote for me. Like, don't stay safe. You got to get out there. You're not meant to be a ship in harbor. Yeah. You're not meant to sit there and just bob around safely. Like, you're meant to go out on those scary big seas. So do it.
Babe.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thanks for being here again.
Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap. Hey, if you're a faith-based father and you have a son who is entering into adolescence and manhood, you've got to check out an experience that we have June 2024. It is the father-son hike of a lifetime on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. I'm going to be taking a group of men and their sons over to Spain to hike some of the most beautiful scenery through northern Spain on the Camino de Santiago. We're going to hike 6 days, 70 miles, 200,000 steps, and have completely disconnected, unplugged, uninterrupted time with our sons. We are going to grow and bond and deepen our relationships with our sons through some very intentionally curated adventures, challenges, and experiences. And we're going to do so in the company of other faith-based men who have the same desire to grow and deepen their story with their son. If you're interested in this adventure with us, go to mattshoup.com, click the Go to Spain button, and check out the father-son hike of a lifetime.